Tell me a bit about yourself, your personal story.
Yeah, so my name is Fatih Furkan Bayraktar, and I'm coming from Turkey to the United States. So I studied law in Turkey at Fatih University, and then I came to the United States to study political science at the graduate level. So I completed 2 master's degrees, one at University of Central Florida, the other one is at the Pennsylvania State University. Then I wanted to go back to law, and then I studied another master's in law at Northwestern Pritzker School of Law. So now I am working as a law clerk at IS Law Firm.
So you came as a student to study in the US.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Your career didn't start as an immigration. I mean, it wasn't immigration in the beginning. It was just for studying.
Yes, so I came to study political science at the master's level, and then I also signed up for a PhD programs, and then I decided that it's not for me, so I only took my master's degree out of that program, and then I decided that I am better at law, so I went to law school again. I went to the Northwestern, and I ended up with the law degree, and now I'm preparing for the bar exam in 2023.
When or how did you decide to stay in the US? To become a student, which is going to come back, but to become person.
Yeah, when I came, after I came here in 2016, things have changed at home. So Turkey has been going through a lot of political turmoil. And then I also like the United States, that I decided that I think this is the country that I want to live. So I decided to stay. Yep.
To stay. And what is your immigration story?
Well, as I said, I came as a student. I came as a student, and then I obtained my green card through my wife, and I decided to stay here. So I am waiting for my citizenship time to come.
What is your life in the US? How it's to be an immigrant from Turkey in the US?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was challenging just for any immigrant, I believe. But I also had some blessings that I know a lot of Turks here. I know the Turkish communities around the country. So, and the Turkish people here, I think they are knit close to each other in this country. So that really helped me to wander through the immigration journey. So if they were not here, if we were not supporting each other, that would be a lot more difficult. But since I came to the United States, there were people who I didn't know before coming here, but who I met here, and then they were supporting me in any ways. They were supporting me in my private life. They were helping me get my driver license, buy a car, and everything you can think about. At the same time, they were also supporting me in the professional life, like finding a job or getting recommendation letters. Those kind of things require network. And I feel blessed that I had a supportive network here in the United States.
But where do you meet them? Are those people from the university, or it's like a mosque or anything? Where sits this community?
Well, I think the community is diverse. People identify themselves with more than one group, but at the end we have some common grounds, we are from the same religion, or we are coming from the same country, we share the same culture. So these are the things that brings people together. And we also have some cultural events or celebrations. For example, we have what we call Bayram, which is a celebration. So we have it at least two times a year, and those times we come together, we pray at a mosque, and then usually in the United States we have a celebration where the families, kids, and the grown-ups, they all come together. So it's a fun, and also it's an opportunity for us to get together and connected. So through those kind of events, we were able to maintain our relationships and the networks here in the United States.
Kurban Bayram, I believe it's the 20th of March. Is that the one?
You are better than me. I don't remember the exact date, but it could be. Yes, we have Kurban Bayram and then we have Ramazan Bayram. So these are the two main bayrams we have. Yeah.
Okay. Is the Turkish community large in the US?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but like in cities where I lived in Chicago, I lived in Orlando, and those cities had like significant Turkish communities. I also lived in State College, Pennsylvania, where there were less Turkish people, but there were still. So I think these are, I think there are a sizable community here in the United States. Now I'm living in like Washington, D.C. area, and there are a lot of Turks here as well.
And what is the typical portrait of a immigrant from Turkey? I mean, what people mostly do? What is like the typical traces of this community?
I think Turks are latecomers to the country. Like they started to immigrate like around 1900s. And then later on, most of the Turks that I saw here came here for either like work or education. And what I see is usually they are well educated. They're like from the higher segments of the society from Turkey. So I would say like in terms of social class or whatever you call it, I think it's like, so the Turkish community is well educated. They are well off here.
And as for the not only this Turkish part of the story, but for the Muslim part of the story, who is the Muslim person in the US from your perspective?
I think that so when you say Muslim, it's a very diverse community, like people coming from like 4 or 5 different continents and from hundreds of countries. But I think there are certain things that brings us together. Like, for example, there are mosques wherever I go in this country, like, because I always lived in big cities except State College, Pennsylvania. And in all those cities, there were like mosques, cultural centers, Islamic centers. And one thing that brings us all together is the prayers. We have like daily prayers, like 5 prayers a day, plus the Friday prayer, which is like where we supposed to pray together. So the Friday prayers are usually the biggest ones, biggest event. And then these kind of events brings us together here in the United States. And as I said, like the Muslim community is very diverse here. Like I know people from Africa, Asia, like Central Asia or Middle East, or convert Muslims who converted to Islam. So it's a very diverse community.
But it's a unique, really experience to meet all of those people with the same religion, but from all the different continents.
Exactly. That's very unique, actually. Like in terms of that uniqueness, I can talk about the food. So there's a lot of food diversity in the Muslim community. So as a Muslim, we have to adhere to certain practices. So for example, we only eat halal meat. We are supposed to eat halal meat. And halal is the meat that's slaughtered in a certain way with the blessing and everything. So, but I can find a lot of halal places here. And as I said, since the community is diverse, food is diverse as well. I was introduced to cuisines that I have never tried before coming to the United States. So I am coming from Turkey, which has a strong cuisine, I will say. But I was introduced to a lot of like Yemeni food, like Lebanese, and then Central Asian, like Uzbek, and like a lot of cuisines. That was a good surprise for me.
You like it, right?
I like it a lot. Yeah, I like like shopping restaurants around the my home. So I try to go to different places as much as I can.
To have this experience, almost like travels, you know?
Exactly. I mean, like otherwise you have to travel to that country to have that experience. And like when you live in a diverse community, they all come to you, to your footsteps. So that's a huge opportunity, and I try to take advantage of.
What is your favorite one, except of course, Turkish food?
Oh, I like Afghan cuisine. I think it's close to Turkish one, but it's like also spicy because it's close to India and
Mm-hmm.
those countries. So I like Lebanese food as well. It's very unique, especially their appetizers like hummus, baba ganoush, or they have certain breads that I can't remember. But yeah, these are like my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Sounds really nice. Look, also coming to again to the topics of immigration, are there many refugees, religious refugees? You know, do you see them in the Muslim community? Who are them? Are there many of
Uh,
them?
yes, absolutely. Like there are different groups. There are Muslims who cannot leave their religion in their countries. For example, like in certain countries in Africa, they come seek asylum here because they can't practice Islam over there as they want. But there are also Muslims who lives in like Muslim majority countries, but they cannot practice their own version of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, there are Shias living in a Sunni majority country, or Sunnis living in a Shia majority country, or other groups, like, for example, the Gulen movement in Turkey, they're also persecuted for their beliefs. So there are different groups who like identify as Muslim and comes to the United States to seek asylum.
So I see a lot of them.
Absolutely, sure.
Okay. And I know that there is a politics in Turkey that many Turkish people seek also refugees, and they are like under certain repressions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you also see those people coming a lot?
Sure, especially after 2016. So there was a controversial coup attempt in Turkey, and then after which the government started a crackdown on a certain movement, which is called Gulen movement. And then we do see a lot of asylum seekers from the Gulen movement here in the United States, because at home, like, so the government, I think I will say falsely alleged them to be behind the coup, and then they are sacked from their job, they are expelled from their job, they are put in prison, and then government doesn't give them a job, does not allow private companies to give them a job. So they're kind of like left to starve. So they are doing their best to leave the country and find security and safety at other countries. And the United States is one of the top destinations for them.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see from your perspective? Is it maybe not easy, but is there is a chance to actually to find the asylum here in the United States if you are persecuted, for example, for your religious beliefs or something?
Absolutely, sure. I have, from my experience, I have seen a lot of people around me who has secured their, who has obtained their asylum status due to their affiliation with the Gulen movement, or because of their other claims of religious persecution. That's certainly a possibility.
Mm-hmm. There is a possibility. Also, speaking about the countries abusing their powers, I know that you know a lot about the Interpol's Red Notices. Tell us more about this. And for example, I know that in Russia, in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, also the countries, the governments, they're using this Interpol Red Notice just to get people. Tell us more about the situation. What is this Red Notice? How the countries use it? How can you fight this, for example?
Sure. So Interpol is a police agency which is a collaboration between different police organizations around the world. And this organization has a system where the countries can submit a red notice, can apply for red notice for certain people to be handed over to the country that is requesting them at home. So this is, in other words, this is a collaboration between police agencies, different police agencies in different countries. But the problem here is that certain countries, especially the ones you mentioned, Russia, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Turkey, and we can add other countries as well, but especially these countries abuse the system to persecute their dissidents at abroad. So even if their dissidents left the country and sought asylum in Western countries or other parts of the world, they are still persecuting them through this Red Notice system. The reason why they are able to do this is because the checks and balances in the Interpol system is weak. So when a country sends a Red Notice request based on a court warrant from their home country, they don't even have to provide a court warrant for those kind of
official
requests.
Decision.
Yeah, and then in those countries, these are the countries also plagued with corruption and lack of judicial independence. So it's easy to get those kind of decisions from the judiciary as well in those countries. Even if they send a court decision, it's always a bogus charge against that dissident so that they can persecute him abroad. So the Interpol system, it seems like doesn't have enough checks on these red notices. So these check notices go through the system, and the target of those red notices have a lot of trouble in the countries that they seek refugee. For example, in the United States, even though the red notices are not considered as an arrest warrant, so you're not going to be arrested based on a red notice from another country, it can create a lot of problems for you, especially immigration problems. So the ICE and other agencies rely on those red notices to go after immigrants here in this country. And most of the times, these immigrants are already like escaping from those countries, and that's why they're applying for asylum here in the United States. But they still have to explain in the court and to the other agencies that they did not commit those crimes that they are alleged to committed, or sometimes they don't even that opportunity. They're arrested for ICE or other agencies, and then their immigration status is revoked, and then they have to go to court, and they have to put a long struggle to get back to their original status. So, and they're not always successful. Sometimes these red notices ruins people's life by like ruining their immigration status in this country. I know people who spent years in prison because of those bogus charges from their home country, which is like sent to this country, to the United States, with red notices. So red notice system, to summarize, it's an collaboration between different police agencies in the world. In that sense, it has a useful, it has a use, but at the same time, it has a lot of loopholes, and those countries who wants to abuse the system are able to do it and go after their dissidents, even in democratic countries like United States or Europe.
Is there is a possibility, the sad possibility that people can be extradited to the country on the basis of this red notice?
So the Interpol took some steps and decided not to send red notices to a country where that person is living if that red notice is coming from the country from which that individual is afraid to go.
Okay.
So there's this system. They announced it like a couple of years ago, but there are incidents where it's proven that it's not working perfectly. So people still get in trouble because of those red notices, even if they are asylees in the United States. So you might be safe in the United States as an asylee if the country that you are escaping from is sending a red notice to the United States. But if you travel to another country,
Okay.
these red notices are circulated around the world. Wherever you go, they will see it in the system. So when you're traveling, you are still at risk of like being interrogated, even being deported to your home country. And in that sense, the answer
That's my
is yes.
question about
Yes.
extradition. You can be extradited to your home country, but not from the US, for example, for instance.
Yes, I mean, yes and no. Like you shouldn't be extradited to your home country if you have a valid fear of persecution from your home country. As I said, like you have to prove it in a court, and like it creates even a like tiny chance of extradition puts a lot of pressure on the individual, the target individual.
Of course.
And it really limits your option in terms of travel. You really have to be careful where you're traveling, whether that country will cooperate with the country that you are escaping from. So you have to make a lot of decisions when you just want to go visit someone you know at another country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there was an example where Enes Kanter, he's an NBA player. So he went to Romania a couple of years ago, and then there's a red notice request from Turkey on his behalf. Turkey also canceled his passport through fraudulent ways, I will say. And then, so he was stuck at the airport for a couple of hours, and he was he was allowed to return to the United States only after a couple of senators from the United States intervened on his behalf. Otherwise, like and this is a very well-known NBA player who's known for his voice for persecuted people. If you're not a person like that, your case is more difficult. So the red notice is really like harming the refugees and asylees around the world.
But I have a question. Does every refugee or asylee who on whom was this red notice issued, do these people know about this? Or there is a chance that you don't know that there is a red notice on you and you just go traveling and bingo, there is a surprise?
Yes, both of them are possible. You can, so sometimes it's possible to learn if there is a red notice on you by inquiring with the Interpol, but at other times you will not know it until the responsible agency in the country that you are living is notified, and they come and let you know that there's a red notice against you. Sometimes you just learn it when you are traveling through the country, traveling through the world, sorry, at another country,
if you're a dissident, for example, yes, you may know not that, and you just go to some place.
Exactly. Yep, that's possible.
Wow.
And this is scary. Yeah.
It is scary. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, we're switching the topic again from work to your personality. You mentioned that you are getting a green card through your wife. And how did you meet? The story of your marriage. It's interesting.
Thank you. So we married with my wife at the law school in Turkey. So we both studied at Fatih University in Turkey. and we were classmates. So we met when we both signed up for a short film competition, and then we were in the same team. So we met with her. We hang out for 2 years, and then before coming to the United States, we were already engaged in Turkey. And then after coming here, we had our wedding in the United States. So we had it in Orlando. We married here, and yeah, we've been happily married for 5 years right now.
Such a nice story. Did you win in your short film competitions?
Yes, we did. Our team was placed first.
See,
that was a double success.
Double success. Yeah,
Right.
you just took it from my mouth. Double success. A girl and the you know, some statue or something, some prize.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, such a nice story. Do you both, you and her, also part of community? Do both, like a family, go to some community events and meetings?
Sure, absolutely. We try to stay active in our communities here. So we have, as I said, connections with the Turkish community. We attend or we help prepare events. And back in Orlando or State College, so we were helping people to prepare the Turkish festivals, cultural festivals, and everything. Also, we kind of turned our wedding and wedding, I will say. We turned our wedding into a cultural event as well. So in Turkey, we have what we call kına gecesi. It's a night before the marriage, where the ladies come together and kind of make a celebration. And my wife Ezra decided to hold it in cooperation with her university at time, which is Pennsylvania State University. So they announced that we will hold that celebration, and then they invited all the people, and a lot of people showed up to the event. And so it was both a celebration in a traditional sense, but it was also a cultural event, because a lot of people who probably have seen such thing first time in their lives also attended the event. So we try to engage in cultural activities as much as possible.
Okay. So I thank you. I wish you the good day ahead, and we'll be
Thank
in
you,
touch.
Julia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, say hi
Yeah,
to your wife, because it's a wonderful story of you too.
thank you, Julia.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. See you.